Lise, so first and foremost, we will get into what happened to Montreal journalist Natasha. So we've just launched a campaign. Independent journalist Natasha Graham was arrested in Montreal over the weekend, simply trying to cover an anti-Israel, pro-Hamas, aggressive protest happening that have been happening on the streets in Montreal for the last few years. At SaveNatasha.com. Yes, SaveNatasha.com. So we are crowdfunding her defense. It's a legal fund there. And I mean, that thumbnail in that video speaks for itself. I mean, the poor thing has her head just smashed up against
Yeah,
the
this
stairs.
this is Canada's best example of police brutality right here in this video. And thank God for Rebel News and the work of our very own Alexa Lavoie, because if it weren't for Rebel
Hmm.
News and Alexa Lavoie, none of us would ever know that this happened. But they took this little woman, okay, who was there
Hmm.
to witness this event. This is a charter protected right that she is pulling off right here as an independent journalist. They slammed her into the ground. They physically harmed her. And at the same time, it looks like they also sexually assaulted her. How this is being allowed to happen in Canada is it is unthinkable. It is unthinkable 5 years ago, and it is unthinkable today. So do join us over at savenatasha.com, because this is one of our own. This is one of our own.
Hmm.
This could be your wife, your daughter, your niece, your sister being arrested like this. Look at these three heathens on top of her. Absolutely egregious. We should be outraged, Canada, all of us together.
It's complete thuggery. And as you said, Lise, 5 years ago now it was unthinkable, but sadly, this is now unsurprising. We saw the way peacefully assembled Canadians were treated by our own government during the
Mhm.
Freedom Convoy in January and February, well, in February of 2022. So this sadly is unsurprising. And we know that the Montreal police, the SPVM, are notoriously aggressive, act like thugs, act outside of the law, and they're it's more mob-like than actual police work. I mean, they're supposed to be protecting the independent press and freedom of journalists to do their jobs, just documenting and reporting on these kinds of events. And here they are targeting, arresting, and acting like thugs toward these women. Like, and where's the outrage, right, from all those fake feminists who are always like, oh, women in journalism and the Rachel Gilmores of the world? Just crickets, complete
Just
crickets. And
silence. Absolute silence. It shows their duplicity, doesn't it? Because look at here, look right here. So he could touch her literally anywhere on her body, but no, he goes like right for the breasts. I mean, disgusting. These
yeah.
men should not be employed today. Number one, they should be put on administrative leave pending an entire investigation. Actually, you know what?
Hmm.
I'm gonna roll that back. They should be fired outright, and then they can fight for their jobs again, because this is incredible. This is Gestapo level of policing in Canada, and it is happening across the nation. Like, it is wild. It is wild that this happens. So yeah, savenatasha.com, pitch in a little bit. You won't miss that money, but she would definitely appreciate it, and she's one of our own, and she deserves our every support right now. So yeah, do
And
do
I'm
do
pretty
consider.
sure she's also a single mother, if I remember reading correctly. So, not only are times tough for people who have children as it is, but add being a single mother on top of all this, and now she's facing two criminal charges as a result of this violent arrest that she was suffered at the hands of. So definitely, if you're able to chip in a couple dollars to defend Natasha, she would appreciate it. Here at Rebel News, we would appreciate it, because you know
I'm
that we
gonna
don't go down without a
Yeah.
fight.
I'm gonna do
Um,
this right after this. SaveNatasha.com. I'm gonna pitch in $100. I challenge
aw,
every other viewer right now to pitch in what they can. And honestly, guys, going to this website, it literally takes 10 seconds to contribute to this, and you will be making a difference in her, definitely in her life. She needs our every support right now. So yeah, SaveNatasha.com. Head over there
yeah.
after this.
And then, of course, the mainstream media journalists came to the defense of the police out of some twisted reality that they currently live under. And so we have Alexa Lavoie took to X to basically condemn the actions of this francophone journalist, quote unquote, Francis Pilon. I hope I pronounced that correctly. I'm sorry, my French is terrible, and I wish I could read and decipher French, but sadly I cannot. So Alexa put this really great post, and she basically fact checked
Mhm.
what he wrote in his article, and things like even getting the time of the arrest wrong. He put that she was arrested at 8 p.m., but really she was arrested at 5:40. He didn't even attempt to read any of the work that Natasha Graham has written as a freelancer. Yet he, tried to belittle and disregard her title
Sure.
as a journalist, saying that she wasn't actually a journalist, because she's not registered with, the same media outlets that he is, coming to the defense of police acting like thugs and mobs. And then, so as for the arrest itself, Alexa notes in here, who literally filmed it and was there witnessing the whole thing, says, as for the arrest, Natasha simply removed the police officer's hands from her hips,
Mm.
right? After he aggressively grabbed her, telling him not to touch her. And you have that right, actually. You can say, do not touch me. There are so many trauma, like police are supposed to take these trauma informed trainings now, where if someone says, don't touch me, or, that's going to send me into a spiral or I have anxiety or whatever, they're supposed to respect and uphold that and call in, not that I necessarily agree in every instance that that's appropriate, but when a male officer is acting aggressively
Yep.
and perhaps even sexually toward an arrestee, a female arrestee, you have every right to say, don't touch me. Where's the female officer? I request her.
Yep.
And so this is disgusting.
The only difference between what happened to Natasha and what happened to Alexa was Alexa kept her hands up here and backed away with her hands up here. Natasha had the nerve to remove his hands from her body, and she was arrested. This,
Yeah.
I mean, this is an egregious, egregious overreach, and especially against a woman, especially against a
Mhm.
single mom.
Yeah. And this is what
Oh
the
my
mainstream
God.
media, the kind of coverage they bring you,
Oh
is
my
trying to
God.
discredit and somehow save face for the police that act
I
over,
can't.
they exert their authority.
Oh, I can hardly watch. I can honestly, I can hardly watch. It just breaks my heart
Mhm.
to watch this. Canada, I mean, if this doesn't show the state of our country right now, I'm not sure what does.
Yeah,
I'm
the
not sure
Montreal
what does.
police, as I said, they're notorious for being the riot cops, right? You bring in the Montreal police, the SVPM, and they have no issue stomping on the civil liberties of their
And
fellow Canadians.
meanwhile, directly behind them are a group of people that could get arrested, like
Yeah,
could get
exactly.
arrested. So just like let that sink in. They are there to be supervisors and spectators and cheerleaders for the actual bad guys, which are in
Mhm.
their line of sight, and instead they tackle a woman to the ground. And I can't even imagine the levels of psychological torture that Natasha is suffering right now, just knowing that she's up against the weight of the entire system against her. So
Mhm.
Canada, we are known for being good neighbors. We are known for being people that dive in to help when the going gets tough for our sisters and our daughters and our friends. And this is the moment for you. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and they're ignoring actual criminal code infractions, a
Yep.
chance of genocide on the street, actually being aggressive, violent agitators, wearing masks, hiding your identity. I mean, this is textbook black bloc behavior.
Yeah.
And yet, journalists trying to simply document it are the ones targeted, harassed, mobbed, and arrested. It is absolute
Insane.
upside down, bizarro world.
It's insane. It is literally insane. Yeah.
But we do have one mainstream media journalist who called it out and said this, called a spade, really. Joe Warmington from
Oh.
the Toronto Sun took to X and he said this is a serious matter that the SVPM, and he tagged, Valerie Laplante, Valerie Plante, she's the mayor of Montreal,
Mhm.
Francois Legault, Mark Carney, Pierre Poilievre. He tagged all of them, said this needs and demands an investigation. This should be probed. Natasha is not a criminal. She should not be treated as such, right? Because she's now facing 2 criminal charges. It's
Mhm.
crazy. It's not supposed to be an authoritarian state, and he goes on and on. And so it's funny to contrast what you see by some of the younger mainstream media
Oh.
journalists, by someone who has a little bit more seasoned wisdom under their hats, what their takeaway is from these
Can
actions.
can we just scroll down and read what Joe says here? Because he did a little interview here and he said, and she said, oh,
I
here we
thought they
go.
were
Hold on.
going the Yeah.
They assaulted her again in the police vehicle when they were doing up her seatbelt. She's been crying. She reports to Joe that she's been crying for 31 hours. She is terrified and traumatized by this event. And she's being charged with assaulting the police by
Yeah.
taking his hands off her body. This is insane. And God bless Joe Warmington. He is such a good guy, and he is never afraid to get to the real heart of the story. And here, yeah. Oh, look at this. He
She
assaulted me
well
again in the cop car, pretending to do up my seatbelt when my hands were cuffed behind me in cuffs. I was kicking the chair in front of the other cop to help me. He pretended nothing was happening. Holy shit.
Yeah, and even saying, my cuffs were so tight, I thought they would seriously injure me. I thought they were going to dislocate my shoulders. Like this is insane. But also it's again, not surprising, which is a sad state of affairs that we live in here in Canada under our de facto police state. David Menzies, when he's arrested, he had to proactively inform the police, like, you can't cuff me behind my back because he has a shoulder problem. And they will be so aggressive and violent with him that it will re-injure a pre-existing shoulder issue. And so because David was arrested, 5 times in the last year, just trying to scrum politicians out in the wild, they had to proactively inform the police, hey, if and when, obviously, hopefully never, but given the track record here, when David Menzies is arrested, you cannot cuff him behind his back because he has a shoulder injury. And whether or not they uphold that is another story, but at least they have been warned. But yeah, these people act so aggressively, abuse their authority. They're power hungry, and they need to be put back in their place.
Nothing shows the rapidly deteriorating the state of the nation of Canada quite as much as this. Like nothing shows it more blatantly than this.
Mm-hmm.
Look, I mean, I can't even hardly look at the image. It is just so upsetting to me to know that
It
happened.
is.
But again, thank God for Alexa Lavoie. Thank God for Rebel News, because if it weren't for her and us, we would not know that this happened in Canada. So yeah, again,
Exactly.
SaveNatasha.com.
And
SaveNatasha.com. Everybody
the
go.
little
Yep.
guy like Natasha, they don't stand a chance going against the behemoth of the state. And so unless you have a coordinated crowdfunding effort, how do you ever get justice for this kind of treatment, right?
That's exactly right. These are highly trained, highly outfitted. Look at all the gear they were in. I mean,
They're
imagine
riot
going up.
police.
Yes, they are. Look at this. Look
Oh,
at
just throwing her
I
right
can
to the
hard I can
ground.
honestly I can like on concrete stairs. Way
Yeah,
to go,
it's
guys. Way
terrible.
to go. You
Yeah, they must
absolute
feel really tough.
thugs. Oh,
Yeah.
I bet they do. I bet they do.
Mm-hmm.
I bet they go home and do terrible things to their wives and girlfriends.
Oh,
Like, these are the
okay. Anyway,
exact type of men.
yeah.
Well, no, not them literally, but that, like, this is the kind of behavior, if you would do this in public in front of in front of cameras, like, what kind of person are you? That's what I'm trying to say,
Right.
not that they
Right.
would actually do that. So
Right. Yeah, it's a disturbing state of affairs. And so just to go back to kind of that contrast between Joe Warmington and this Montreal-based journalist, I think that this further reinforces Pierre Poilievre's repeated calls to defund the CBC, because these state broadcaster, these bought and paid for journalists, especially the
mhm.
younger generation that's been so heavily indoctrinated to just parrot whatever the party says, it's warranted that now it's completely done away with any sort of critical thinking. You can't, if you see that video with your eyes and your ears for yourself, and you still draw conclusions that we should like somehow back the police in those actions and try to discredit and smear the person who was at the hands of their abusive power grab authority, then you know what? I fully support a defunding of those journalists who are currently siphoning out the taxpayer pockets without our consent to have that funding go that way. So we'll just share this clip of Poilievre once again vowing that he's going to defund the CBC.
Will you defund the CBC within 100 days of government?
I don't have a time frame, but we've already said, I've already made my position clear on that, and it hasn't changed. We're going to defund the CBC and let Canadians enjoy it as a nonprofit, self-funded organization. Yeah, which is what I've said all along, while protecting services at Radio-Canada, because without Radio-Canada, the francophones across the country would not have access to that information.
Well, now we have Alexa Lavoie, so I don't know. I beg to differ. Let's get Alexa up and rolling to a higher capacity, and then, you know what? We could compete perhaps with Radio-Canada.
Want to stay on top of the latest current events, but don't trust the mainstream media to help you do that? Then check out our daily live stream coverage of the latest news and totally unscripted at rebelnews.com/roundup.